Let's practice English and learn vocabulary, especially common idiomatic expressions, through an easy and short conversation. In this conversation, a man returns home with bad news. He tells his wife that he lost his job. So let's get started. Susan says, "What's the matter, dear?"
What's the matter, dear?
What's the matter, dear? Peter replies, "Susan, I got fired today at work."
Susan, I got fired today at work.
Susan, I got fired today at work. And Susan replies, "But, Peter, you were John's right-hand man."
But Peter, you were John's right-hand man.
But, Peter, you were John's right-hand man. And Peter said, "Yes, and he stabbed me in the back."
Yes, and he stabbed me in the back.
Yes, and he stabbed me in the back. And Susan says, "Keep your chin up. Maybe he'll change his mind and take you back."
Keep your chin up. Maybe he'll change his mind and take you back.
Keep your chin up. Maybe he'll change his mind and take you back. And Peter says, "When pigs fly, once he makes up his mind, he never changes it. Besides, I told him off."
When pigs fly, once he makes up his mind, he never changes it. Besides, I told him off.
When pigs fly, once he makes up his mind, he never changes it. Besides, I told him off. Told him off. And Susan replies, "Look on the bright side. You won't have to set eyes on John ever again."
Look on the bright side. You won't have to set eyes on John ever again.
Look on the bright side. You won't have to set eyes on John ever again. Peter says, "Thanks goodness for that. Thanks goodness for that."
Thanks goodness for that.
And Susan replies, "Hang in there. I'm sure you won't be out of work for long."
Hang in there. I'm sure you won't be out of work for long.
Hang in there. I'm sure you won't be out of work for long. I'm sure you won't be out of work for long. Peter says, "In the meantime, we will have to live from hand to mouth."
In the meantime, we will have to live from hand to mouth.
In the meantime, we will have to live from hand to mouth. And later Susan says, "Don't get stressed out, honey. We will make ends meet."
Don't get stressed out, honey. We will make ends meet.
Don't get stressed out, honey. We will make ends meet. Peter replies, "I can always get a job. at McDonald's as a last resort.
I can always get a job at McDonald's as a last resort.
I can always get a job at McDonald's as a last resort. And later Susan says, I don't think they're hiding right now.
I don't think they're hiring right now.
I don't think they're hiring right now. And Peter says, if worse comes to worst, we can sell our home and move with my mom.
If worse comes to worst, we can sell our home and move with my mom.
If worse comes to worst, we can sell our home and move with my mom. Susan says, let's think big. Maybe you can start your own business.
Let's think big. Maybe you can start your own business.
Let's think big. Maybe you can start your own business. And Peter says, easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done. So this is the end of the conversation. Let's proceed with the second part of this English lesson, in which we're gonna learn the idiomatic expressions that appeared in the conversation before. So let's get started. Susan said, "What's the matter, dear? What's the matter?" This is a common and polite way to ask someone what is wrong or why they look worried, upset, angry, etc. For instance, you look sad. What's the matter?
What's the matter? What's the matter, Alan?
Susan said you were John's right-hand man. Right-hand man is an expression that we use to say that you are the most trusted and helpful assistant to a boss, a leader. For example, the CEO relies on his right-hand man for all important decisions.
That's because I'm your right-hand man, Michael.
I'm his right-hand man, so to speak.
Peter said in the conversation, yes, and he stabbed me in the back. Here Peter conjugated that in past, but the expression is stab me in the back. So we can conjugate that according to the context. If we are speaking in present, in past, in future, in past participle, etc. This idiomatic expression, we use it to say that someone betray your trust, especially by doing something harmful behind your back. Let's see an example. I can't believe my friend lied to my boss. He really stabbed me in the back.
But nothing compares to having the one guy I thought I could trust stab me in the back.
You used me to help you with soccer, and then you're gonna turn around and stab me in the back.
Another expression that Susan used in the conversation was this: keep your chin up. Maybe he'll change his mind and take you back. So let's study here, keep your chin up. This is a phrase of encouragement to tell someone to stay positive and happy even during hard times. So let's picture this. Don't worry about the bad test score. Keep your chin up. Stay positive, in other words.
Come on, keep your chin up.
Well, keep your chin up.
Let's continue here with another expression that Susan used in the conversation. Maybe he'll change his mind and take you back. Change his mind, in this case, it means to change a decision, opinion, or plan that was made earlier before. So let's see an example. She was going to quit, but after talking to the manager, she changed her mind. She changed her mind.
Change your mind.
If you change your mind at the altar, just pass out.
Peter said in the conversation, when pigs fly, once he makes up his mind, he never changes it. Besides, I told him off. Here we can see different idiomatic expressions, so let's start studying the first one. When pigs fly. We use this to say that something will never happen. This is like a sarcastic idiom. So let's say, will he clean his room? When pigs fly.
When pigs fly. When pigs fly.
The other expression that was there was make up your mind. When we use this, we mean to decide or choose something. For example, hurry up. You need to make up your mind about which course you want to take. In other words, we want to say, hurry up. You need to make a decision, you need to decide, you need to choose a course.
Please make up your mind.
I couldn't make up my mind.
Peter said also in the conversation, besides, I told him off. Tell someone off is a common phrasal verb that means to speak to someone angrily because they did something wrong. In other words, it is scold, to scold someone. For instance, the teacher told the students off for cheating on the exam. Another example for this phrasal verb could be when Ted showed up for chemistry class a half an hour late, his teacher really told him off.
You just told off your father.
I never tell off my father.
Susan said in the conversation, hang in there. I'm sure you won't be out of work for long. So here we have this, hanging there. Hanging there, we use it to say, wait or continue doing something despite difficulties. In other words, do not give up. Do not give up. I know you're going through a hard time, but do not give up. Hang in there. For example, the market is bad, but if you hang in there, things will get better next year. Another example could be, I know you're 4 games behind, but you can still win the tennis match. Just hang in there. Peter said to Susan, in the meantime, we will have to live from hand to mouth. The expression that we have here is live from hand to mouth, and this expression means to live on very little money with just enough to eat and nothing left over. For example, after losing his job, he lived from hand to mouth for 6 months.
The majority of the population work in agriculture, and many live from hand to mouth.
Susan said to Peter, we will make ends meet. So, make ends meet means to earn just enough money to pay for your basic needs. So, in other words, you have to manage to survive. with little money. For example, it is hard to make ends meet when prices are so high. Another example for this could be if you can't make ends meet, you'll need to start spending less.
And what do you do to make ends meet?
Just trying to make ends meet.
Peter said, I can always get a job at McDonald's as a last resort. So, as a last resort or last resort is a final choice or option when all other choices have failed. So, this is usually a bad or unwanted option. For instance, I don't like taking medicine. I'll only take it as a last resort. Another thing that Peter said in the conversation was this: if worst comes to worst, we can sell our home and move with my mom. So here we're gonna learn if worst comes to worst. This is a phrase or an idiomatic expression that means if the worst possible thing happens. This is an idiom that shows preparation for failure. For example, if worst comes to worst, we can always sleep on the sofa. Something else that Peter said was easier said than done. Easier said than done is a phrase meaning that something sounds simple but is actually very difficult to achieve. For example, finding a new apartment in the city is easier said than done. Moving into a new home is easier said than done.
It's easier said than done.
Well, it's easier said than done.
So now that we have already learned and understood all the idiomatic expressions, phrasal verbs, vocabulary in general that appeared in the conversation we read before, let's do this quiz. Point number 1 says, what does it mean to be a person's right-hand man? A. The person who handles minor errors. B. The most trusted or helpful assistant. C. A coworker you often argue with. The most trusted and helpful assistant that a boss or a leader has. The second point says, if a friend stabbed you in the back, what did they do? A. They confronted you directly about a problem. B. They accidentally injured you. C. They betrayed your trust behind your back. C. They betrayed your trust behind your back. Point number 3. Peter says in the conversation, when pigs fly, what does he mean when he says this? A. Something will never happen. Point number 4. What does the phrase look on the bright side mean? A. To search for a lost item. B. To ignore your problems completely. C. To be hopeful and focus on the good parts of a situation. To be hopeful and focus on the good parts of a situation. And the last point says, when you make ends meet, you have just enough money to A. Cover your basic needs and expenses. B. Invest in a new business venture. C. Buy a new expensive car. A. Cover your basic needs and expenses. Keep practicing these idiomatic expressions and try to use them in your daily conversations. If you want to learn more vocabulary like this through easy and short conversations, watch the next video.